Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the New Black Leadership Coalition on this beautiful, sunny, warm, and pleasant day here in Chicago. And you will get a black perspective of whatever it is that you typically listen to on the news or in conversations where sometimes they water it down. But here, we don't take any prisoners. Seriously, we call a spade a spade. And I'm sitting here with the co-host, good friend of mine's, wonderful brother, Minister Michael Muhammad. How you doing, sir?
Doing great by the grace of God, Brother Gregory. Blessing to see another day and enjoy this wonderful sunshine in Chicago.
Yeah, it's good to have a sunshiny day. And it's good to bring some light to our people, man, that is really, and I know sometimes when you say in gross darkness, people take that in such a way where we in darkness. Yeah, look at the times and look at the conditions, look at the mindset, look at the behavior, look at the lack of progress. I mean, it's just so many things that will tell you right now that we need some sunshine, that we need some warmth, we need some motivation, we need some stimulation, we need some true education. So today you will get just that. I promise you, you will not at all leave these airwaves feeling as though we have wasted your time. And I'm gonna tell you something. The New Black Leadership Coalition has been around for over how many years now, Mike?
Oh, we started in, we've been around about 13 years.
13 years. And folks, I want you to get into this conversation because today I'm going to talk about something that you really want to hear. And I think we need to discuss it. We'll do part one today because this is really going to take part one, part two, and part three. And it's from a report that comes out every year from the National Urban League called the State of Black America. The State of Black America. And we're going to break that down. Now, they give statistics and data about the unemployment, education. They talk about what's some of the other categories. I know they talk about education. I said unemployment. They also cover housing, etc. But there's a lot of things that affect our community. But we're going to get into a deeper conversation around a different state. You know, Minister Mike, if you don't mind, I want to talk about that. But I want to put up here what the coalition is all about. So if you want to, get in contact with us, this is what you will see this. And this is the New Black Leadership Coalition, and that's how you can reach us via Facebook. And now, I do want to say the state of Black America, the state of Black America. Now, here in Chicago, are we distracted with the crime piece? I mean, the increase in crime, but are we distracted because the media is not our leaders? The media might not even be our friends. And so we're getting information piecemeal, sensationalized from the media. But now let's go back to a deeper part of the media. So that's why I want to deal with the state of mind, because many people look at Empire, you look at Scandal, that's from the media. But when you look at the condition of our community, now we like entertainment, we need a break from all of the serious things and etc. We need to laugh, but are we doing anything about the serious things after we laugh? Are we seeing any progress? So, Minister Michael, what is the state of, and from your perspective, the state of Black America?
Well, Brother Gregory, I think that our condition is very obvious to anybody who is really paying attention. Just the violence alone is the strongest, most visceral, or the loudest manifestation or indicator of our state. Because this type of violence is not pervasive in almost any other community, including the Hispanic community. There is the nature of the violence speaks to the state of our mind as a people. It speaks to the psychology of our people. It speaks to the social conditions of our people. It speaks to the political effectiveness of those who practice politics. It speaks to the health condition of our people. And so every report repeats the same song, that we're at the bottom. We're at the bottom of politics. We're at the bottom of economics. We're at the bottom of every health disparity that exists almost in the United States of America, if not the world. We're at the bottom of all of the what we will call vital signs of a society or a community of people. If you take the pulse of any community, in this case Chicago, if you take our vital signs, we have the weakest vital signs of any community that exists, or group of people, I will say, that exists in Chicago, because we really only sparsely have community anymore. We really don't have a genuine sense of community anymore, which speaks to all of these other vital signs that we have been under assault. So the Urban League and the like, what we do is we constantly take the pulse of the community. We report on our condition, but what we're interested in doing with the New Black Leadership Coalition is crafting effective strategy and implementing a new way of thinking, a new strategy for leadership, a new strategy for dealing with the disparities that exist in the black community. And what we're failing to come to terms with as a community is that we keep going to the same people, we keep going to the same solutions, looking for different results, but these same groups of people, these same ways of thinking and analyzing the troubles that we face as a community are only leading and producing the same results. And so there are some ways of thinking, there are some worldviews, there are some spiritual, philosophical, and ideological leanings that we haven't really effectively tried to their effective end result. There are some frameworks that exist that are beyond the pale of the thinking of those that are in front of us. So, and what we're suggesting, or what I'm suggesting, is that black people need to come to grips with the way we are living is not working. Let's start with ourselves first. The way we're living is not working for us. We are not a healthy people. We are not a conscious people. We're not effective with the use of our dollars. We're not effective with the use of our education. Now, I know some of you will say, well, I live well and I ride well and I got a great job and I got retirement. Well, we're not talking about an individual. We're talking about a community. We're talking about the fact that all of our leadership bow down to people outside of our community. We're talking about the fact that we, up until recently, were almost half of the tax base. Now we're a little more than, some say, a third of the tax base. But no matter how you count it, we pay higher taxes and more taxes than any other community, but we get the least benefit. the way we're thinking, the way we're living is not working. The strategies we use to elect people to office is a flawed failure of a strategy. We have to relearn, re-educate, retrain ourselves on how to empower people to represent us, because you can hardly point to one elected official, one person in the bureaucracy of the state government, the federal government, or the county government, and certainly the city government. You can hardly count to one upper level bureaucrat that is effectively advocating to change the lives of poor black people, or even care to do so. So we have a problem, black people, with our model for leadership. So to deal with our state, we've got to start with our mind state. And so this is why our greatest leaders have always tried to change our mindset. They've always tried to give us a different set of values that are non-Eurocentric. And so, but those leaders are always the ones that we've been taught to frown upon. And I'm speaking particularly of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Yeah. I'm speaking of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm speaking of Kwame Ture. I'm speaking of Steve Coakley. I'm speaking of those leaders who broke the box on their thinking and began to share information that would allow us to craft a way or strategies for living that would empower us as a people and not position us to be in line with the status quo and always be disabused and abused by the status quo.
Yeah, which is so interesting, because anybody that look at the condition of our community, automatically you would think it's a urgency, a real, I mean, nothing is more important. Nothing on the global level, nothing nowhere on the planet is more crucial, more important than the condition of black people, because we are constantly eroding. And it seems, as what you just said, it seems as though there's been plans, there's been models that have worked, and we witness the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He took men and women who came out of the lowest part of the earth in terms of just their thinking and how they treated themselves, not just from the jail, but from in prison, in the mind of waiting on a mystery God, waiting on people who did not like us to provide for us, and then cleaned them up, made them dignified, made them feel good about themselves, started loving themselves, calling each other sir and no sir and yes sir and no ma'am, and never ever thought about after that doing any harm to themselves or to their community. But we don't want to follow that, because that came from somebody that called themselves a Muslim. And then if you so intelligent, that's why we need new black leadership, because if you were intelligent and you went back and you studied who you really are, then you wouldn't be calling yourself a Christian. Hold on. I know some of you all want to hang up now. Nope. Nope. And I want to take this call in 2 seconds. But you wouldn't be calling yourself that if you understood what it really meant.
Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing? Caller, who are you and where you calling from?
Well,
and I can barely hear you. You know.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Are you on a speakerphone?
No, sir, I'm not. Can you hear me better now?
I can. It's faintly, but go ahead.
All right, I'll just speak louder. You know, when I look at the condition of our community over the past 40 years, it's only been 6 or 7 areas where all the violence take place, right? Now, the Democratic leadership that runs this city has had 40 years to control the violence in 6 or 7 geographic areas. Now, we've seen them roll out the police when that G8 summit came to Chicago. So the manpower is there. So what we have is a systematic denial and, quite frankly, a lack of services to address the violence because there's a lack of will. Okay? Now, the question becomes, what can we do about it? We can't do anything about it. We've got to have the National Guards come in to make the streets safe. I know people say, oh, we don't want to do it, but when people are getting murdered going to Starbucks, there has to be some type of change. There is nothing they're doing different than they've been doing for the past 40 years. Einstein said, if you keep doing the same thing and hope for a different result, you are insane. So it's time to stop the insanity and apply different mechanisms to, number one, make the streets safe. And then number two, find the right leadership to pull us out of this morass by evaluating every alderman, getting a report card on them, and then nominating people to change along with term limits. Thank you.
Now, I wanted a couple of things. Redistributing the wealth. We're not going to get reparation, but I want to go to the National Guard piece. And with the National Guard, I don't at all recommend the National Guard because they're not going to guard our best interests. We keep waiting on somebody else to come and clean up our community, hold us hostage. I mean, we're being held hostage by a few knuckleheads, but that's our job to go and clean it up. We got to come face to face with that foolishness. Yes, it's structural racism. It's a bunch of things that impact the condition. You want to take the other call, or you want to respond to that?
Well, I'll respond very quickly. We make a faulty logic to believe that there is a military resolution for black-on-black violence, because the cause of black-on-black violence is an indoctrination. It is a faulty education. It is the social engineering that has imbibed in us a hatred of ourselves, and therefore a self-loathing that allows us to prey upon ourselves. And so you can bring in the National Guard. That's not going to stop the black-on-black violence.
Right. Is the caller still on? Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you clear now.
Okay. I just turned to the channel, and I'm really liking what the brother's saying about the state of black people and how our mindset has to change. And it reminded me of Amos Wilson, who is my hero, and his book, The Blueprint for Black Power. But all of his books, if you could go online and listen to his lectures, it just sounds like his brother and even more. But what I wanted to also say is that we have to teach the children. You know, when these Europeans came to this country, they wanted to figure out what was best to get the mindset, what the brother's saying, get the mindset of the people in the direction that they wanted, which is to captivate the mind and have the people do what they wanted them to do. And they said, well, we have to go to the children. We have to start with the children and giving them what it is that we want them to do in life. And that guy's name was Webster. He's the one that created the dictionaries. And when we try to figure out what a meaning is, we go to them. So if we don't realize that these different things that they have been targeting us with, and that is our mind, and how we uphold, we become agents for them. We are no longer dealing with our own agenda because we've been targeted. And it didn't start with the 500 years that we've been going through, what we've been going through here in the Americas and in Europe. But when we were Moors, and they attacked us, we brought all of the civilization to these people, and they attacked us, and we had to scatter then. But we were intended in Egypt. You know what people now, when you have black folks that are talk about that they are in these sororities, they call them, in these colleges, and they in these Greek what do they call them? Sororities.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is such, it's like we have a hand in our own demise, thinking that this is important, you know, to uplift, again, we're agents of the oppressor. And one last thing, religion. Religion was used as a weapon just like a gun. And there's another excellent book by this brother, and his name, the name of the book is Ebony and Ivy.
And you know what?
Oh, you got to read that.
Right, and we're going to read it, and we got about 5 or less minutes left in the show.
I'm sorry, but
no,
not live.
Love you for that information and for that call, and tune in and check us out next Tuesday, God willing, and we on Monday nights on Intellectual Radio at 10 p.m. But appreciate that. We would definitely appreciate that wisdom and information. You know, at some point, the revolution will not be televised. The revolution, and that means the change that we need won't be televised. But I think in the next couple of minutes, for those who are just tuning in, you're listening to the New Black Leadership Coalition, and it's very important. I want to put the overhead up real quick so you can get the information about how to stay in contact with us. And but it's very important. I know this sound, every time I put out information about the new black leadership, because people are frustrated with the current lack of leadership. I think we need to be clear. But we all are leaders. Leadership comes from within. And if I take the lead on something that is productive or whatever, I am a leader. You know, and I keep hearing this thing about the Democrats. I was about to call them the Democrats, but the Democrats. I'm sorry, those who are watching, I didn't mean that. You know, in the Republicans, I meant Republicans, but we are still waiting on these individuals to fix what they're not going to fix. Yes. And then going back to what you said, Minister Michael, the whole premise and purpose of the New Black Leadership Coalition, as we will be bringing in other members of this coalition who are out there doing some unbelievable things, the work. But do we need money? Yeah. Do we need farmland? Yes. Do we need our own banks? Yes. Do we need our own credit union? Yes. Do we need to be able to provide jobs for the youth that live in our community? Yes. Everybody else got them. Winnetka not hurting. Barrington not hurting. Highland Park not hurting. Why are we hurting? Why are we continually hurting? In 2016, did you ever think we would be having these discussions in 2016?
Well, I mean, we have been thwarted every time we've made a surge for self-empowerment. So part of our impresada for the New Black Leadership Coalition is the visual of the original Million Man March in 1995. But what people don't realize when they criticize the march is that the enemies beset the community after that march to dismantle and slow down the progress of black people in America so that we would not continue our onward march toward unity. And we're just committed to a process of attracting credible leadership, educating ourselves in the history of our people and the legacies that are worthy for us to carry forward, and then crafting strategy out of a new spirit and a new mindset that's totally committed to the self-empowerment of black people.
And that's what's up. I mean, that's got to be the case. And, you know, there was one particular pastor, I was about to say something that starts with a B, that rhymes with pastor almost, that condemned the march. and but that was Reverend Weeks at the House of Hopelessness. And but anyway, we gotta go. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you next week. Thank you, Minister Mike.
Thank you, brother.
Excellent points. Peace and love. And love somebody that you have not spoke with lately. Love somebody. But more than anything, start loving yourself. Peace.